Hello everyone, I'm Joanna from WeeMin. Welcome to our first webinar in 2023, and it's great to see you all. Today's topic is emerging trend impacting business event in Asia Pacific. To start, I would like to invite Mr. Sam Lei, Executive Director of WeeMin, to deliver us a welcome speech.
Good afternoon, my dear friends from the industry. First of all, I would like to welcome all of you for attending our first webinar this year. Special thanks to our consultant, Sulua, for organizing this webinar, and Sulua's representatives, Mr. Patrick Delaney, for moderating our webinar. It's all in your hands. Also, we are very grateful to have our prestigious experts from various dimensions in the MICE industry here today, including Mr. Enocios Arnaldo, Mr. Matthias Posch, WeeMin Ong, and Ms. Violet Wang, to share their precious knowledge and experience in conventions and exhibitions. MICE organizers and delegates has risen their expectation in various aspects of MICE destination this year. To promote Macau as an ideal MICE destination in the region, IBIM has drawn a series of strategies to develop quantity, quality, and diversity of conventions and exhibitions held in Macau. On the path of industrial improvement, we organized this webinar and invited all our guest speakers to provide insights about Asian MICE overview and development. I believe that today's webinar will deepen your understanding about emerging trends in Asian MICE industries, enhance insights in the future development, and could help to position your MICE business more precisely. Without further ado, let me pass the floor to Patrick and all our guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Joanna, for those warm words of welcome. I know I and all my colleagues in Suunua are really delighted and very excited to be working with you and the IPIM team in relaunching and reimagining Macau as a premier MICE destination. This webinar this morning is part of a number of initiatives. There are 3 webinars, one second webinar in July, a further one in September, but a number of initiatives that IPM have initiated in order to bring Macau back into focus as that destination, that preferred destination for meetings and events. And when we were thinking about what was the most appropriate topic for our webinar, of course, you look at the marketplace as it is at the moment, and it often might remind you as if you're in the scene for that fantastic Oscar-winning movie, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. You know, what's the trend? There's so many topics, so many opportunities, so many challenges for business events professionals. But what are those trends which are not just post-COVID pandemic blowback, trends that will be here in 18 months' time, trends that are relevant to Macau? Now, that big challenge we're going to face this morning, but we are very fortunate to facing that challenge by having an amazing constellation of stars. And let me tell you that I can really feel privileged to have as our panelists a range of individuals who I personally admire and who are admired in our industry as genuine experts. The approach for our webinar is we're going to start off by taking always a client's point of view, because ultimately it's whatever the client wants. That's what reality is, not what we feel. We're going to have that broad discussion as regards what those trends are. And then we're going to take in particular a deep dive look at sustainability and staff retention and acquisition, because they're 2 topics that keep coming up consistently. And of course, we're also going to have a poll to ask you, our delegates who are attending this webinar, what you feel are the priorities. And if you have any questions whatsoever right through our webinar, please just put it in the chat. We'll make sure our speakers get to that question, if not during the webinar itself, but then certainly after it. So that's our format. So let me please invite into our webinar our very distinguished and august panel of WeeMin, Aloysius, Matthias, and Violet. You're very, very welcome, and thanks so much for being here. We actually I should say at the beginning, we were missing one panelist, Monica Lee Mueller from Hong Kong, who unfortunately has a bereavement in her family. And we send Monica and her extended family our deepest condolences on this sad day. But Monica, you're with us in our prayers and in our thoughts, and we hope to have you with us on another webinar later on. So welcome, panelists. Thanks for being here. I see you all ready and eager to share your insights. Can I ask each one of you to introduce yourself, your company name, and maybe when I mention the name Macau, what does that come to mind, either as an image or a word? So Matthias, you're first up.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Matthias Posch. I am the president of International Conference Services. We're a professional conference organizer that works around the globe with international associations. I am based in Singapore, but our company has offices in Europe, North America, and Asia. I'm also the chair of the Training Academy for the International Association of Professional Congress Organizers and a past president, so IAPCO. When I think of Macau, I'm going to say the obvious thing. I think of casinos. That's the first thing that comes to mind. But the other thing that comes to mind is, as IAPCO, we've been working with Macau for literally decades. And so that's really makes Macau, in my mind, as a very forward-thinking professional destination that really always thought about education and moving the industry forward, and really caring about the meetings industry.
Interesting. Thank you, Matthias. Violet.
Hi, everyone. I'm Violet Wang, Senior Business Development Director of East Star Event Management and Head of Realm Events China, based in Shanghai. But our service, again, also covering the entire Asia Pacific region. I'm also current president of Site China. My company and the partner provide one-stop solution for all my scope. After 2020, our scope expanded to live streaming and hybrid events, digital content production, as well as deep penetrating into local experience such as city walks and team buildings. As well, under the same group umbrella, our company also owns and manages over 3 million square meters convention exhibition space, including Shanghai National Exhibition and the Convention Center. The Auto Show China is actually taking place this week at this venue, expecting 1 million visitors. Wow. At Site China, we also collect voices and points from KOLs and stakeholders of our industry, supporting research, industry trends, and the insights, together with Patrick and Patrick. Back to Macau. We did and are planning corporate events, incentives in Macau. For us, Macau fits perfectly from small incentive to large conferences or corporate events. I know this word has been used many times in Hong Kong or Shanghai, but Macau is the real place, East meets the West. No matter you are from mainland China or overseas, even from Hong Kong or Taiwan, arriving in Macau for business or leisure, this place immersing you with a feeling of holiday mood or get lost in translation.
Well, Violet, that's some introduction. I love the way you got in the ad as well. Very, very good. Thank you so much. WeeMin.
Hi, everyone. My name is WeeMin. I'm from Marina Bay Sands, Singapore. I'm the Vice President of Sales at MICE here at MBS. I work with more than 10,000 team members here in Marina Bay Sands to create unforgettable memories for every single one of our guests, patrons, and clients. One of the key things that come to my mind when I think of Macau is ongoing changes. No one city in the world has gone through that much amount of development and change in the last 20 years. So every single time I go to Macau, it's something different. Of course, we have a big sister company in Macau, and we do a lot of information and knowledge exchange with the sister companies. And every time I go to Macau, it's everything different. So I recently just went to Macau and I visited the Londoner Court. It's amazing. So it's a city that never bores. It's a city that never sleeps. A city that never stops developing. That's the impression of Macau.
Okay, very, very positive. Thank you, WeeMin. Aloysius.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to join esteemed colleagues in this webinar. I'm Aloysius Orlando. I'm the chairman for the Asia region for Closer Still Media. Closer Still Media is a UK-based trade organizer which organizes more than 80 leading events in the technology as well as the healthcare space, including also training and human resource development in London, New York, Barcelona, Berlin, and of course Singapore. I'm also the immediate past president of Sacios, and indeed when we talk about Macau, it's nothing but a truly progressive economy in the Greater Bay Area. And I think the spotlight continues to shine in that area, and Macau is really in a prime position to capitalize on the burgeoning region that the Greater Bay Area offers. So exciting times ahead, and look forward to the discussions ahead.
Interesting, thank you. Very, very, very comprehensive, very interesting, a very positive view of Macau at the moment. Right. So as you can see, a very experienced panel, lots and lots to share, lots and lots of insights, I know, and maybe some controversy. We don't know that, but feel free. Again, reminding anybody that if they do have a question for our panel, please put it in the chat and we'll make sure our panelists can get to it. I started this webinar by positioning the importance of the client's viewpoint. Ultimately, that's what really defines how we're going to be successful. Matthias, when you look at your client, and you have a very broad client base, you know, and you're operating in Asia and operating all over the world, you know, what are your clients asking for you today that they haven't been asking for in the past? And what do you think those issues are, particularly that will be coming up in the next 18 months, that are real sticking points to making a sale? Because ultimately that's what's really very, very important.
Very good question. So just to frame this correctly, I work mostly with associations. So when we do conferences, we really have to make sure we attract delegates. We don't have a specific group that we know will come. It has to be attractive, and it has to be something that actually works for the association. So our number one issue that the number one thing we hear from clients is flexibility. There is a nervousness about doing meetings anywhere but home right now. So when you work with international associations, they're American, they're European, they are hesitant to predict forward too much, to go forward with too much confidence in a way, right? So nobody knows what's happening next 2, 3, 4 years. I think COVID has been a big shock, and not just the pandemic of it, but the fact that borders were closing, right? And that all of a sudden visa issues were different. So all of those things left a bit of a bad taste in everybody's mouth, right? So, and when you go into a exotic destination, as many of our North American or European clients see it, the nervousness gets more. So when I go in and I negotiate with venues or convention bureaus, I have to say, okay, what are our clauses in case something happens, in case borders close, in case visas are not issued in time, in case any of these things are happening. That's the number one issue we're dealing with. And to be clear, some of it is directly related to China itself, and what we hear that China opened fairly late and there was all of this, but some of these fears have more to do with them at home as well, right? The US has huge visa issues. Visas are not issued within 6 to 12 months. So their perception is other countries have visa issues as well. So they want some assurances. What if our delegates don't come in? Can you give me assurances when it comes to visas? Will people get visas? And all of those things. So that's the nervousness we're dealing with, most of it. And again, not everything comes from your country. Some of it comes from experiences they have somewhere else as well.
Very interesting, and it's a good reminder, as we said earlier on, of the client's reality is, or the client's perception is reality, and that's so. Visa is really important. That accessibility, that nervousness, reassurance. And what about the associations themselves? Are they? How are they, the business model that associations are working on? Because obviously COVID disrupted very significantly the classic way in which associations got their revenue stream. Are there any changes there?
There is, of course, and I think there is a bit less focus on conferences as a major revenue stream only, but as part of a bigger kind of product kind of group that they have and part of a benefit that they provide to the members. So it's very important that they increase their membership by going into destinations. It's not necessarily that we need to make the money out of it, but that we actually get people to join the association and be with us longer. So there is a big opportunity in here in China, and gaining more Chinese members for international associations. But I will say that it has taken a bit of a backseat because we also see that the collaboration between Chinese associations and international associations has been lacking in the last 3 years. Chinese associations have done their own conferences extremely successfully, and I have not yet seen that cooperation come back to where it was in 2019. That Chinese associations are very eager to invite international associations into China. I have not seen that it's happening. Don't get me wrong. I don't say it's not happening, but at 2019, we were at a level where almost all international associations were having China on their map because the Chinese associations wanted them to come. We're not there yet. That there is a lot of catch up to do in that sense.
Okay. So the importance of a local sponsor, the importance of engagement of local associations with their international counterparts, really interesting. Thank you, Matthias.
Yeah.
Violet, I'm going to swing across to you to Shanghai, and you told us about ReLM and East China being involved also in corporate meetings and incentives. What are your clients asking you for?
Yeah, just adding to Matthias, I think, we are the road to bridge and connect with the local part, with the international part. It's a good match. As we all know, China is the last country to open up, and is still not very international travel friendly in terms of visa and the policies. I think this is the biggest hurdles for any event planners or corporate buyers who look at Macau or any other destination in mainland China, including Macau. This is we are the same. The flights are not irregular yet, not even 50% of the frequency as it was in 2019. But we know that things are being, we know we work very close at East Star. We work very closely with our government bureaus, different parts. And we know that things are being progressed, and hopefully the flights could be back to norm by middle of this year. And the visa and the PCR control would be further eased. Recently, mask wearing warnings are no longer compulsory in public spaces, including subways and buses. But certain hygiene practices are still required as compliance for large conferences. As first point of contact, giving our client the update of policy and the tips reflecting those protocols are crucial. And I think it's our basics as our DMC or PCO or a venue, a hotel. We are the first point of contact to our client, and getting the first-hand information or proactively providing those information to our client, giving the right advice will be very helpful for clients' planning process. So that's my sharing. Yeah.
So a good reminder, Violet, that before we go on to the more exotic and potentially the more interesting enticements, very basic information, flight accessibility, biosecurity are really critical, and bringing people up to date. Because as Matthias said, it's, visas in particular can be, if you try to get into the United States, can be really tricky. So in many ways, we take our own perceptions and we put them onto the local environment. Very good. And Violet, when your clients do come, are they asking for any particular new ways in which the programs are activated, either on the ground or in terms of promotion?
Well, there's a lot of new things coming in and out. Actually, I think the basic info is the start of building trust I know, the market has changed, the supplier market has changed, and giving the basic information is the starting point, building the trusts, and then the requests will flow in consequently. Last Monday I flew to Beijing for industry reunion catch up, and we all find our industry player find more challenges ahead of us rather than too over optimistic regarding this opening up. One of the challenges, our lead time became much shorter and scattered. Most of the requests came in like 1 to 2 months ahead. It's a basic, while some came in just within 1 to 2 weeks. That's answers Matthias' questions of flexibility. So the client tends to buy in a very short time. So the cost can be very well controlled. But in the other hand, our buying the cost become much higher. Venues, hotels, meals, vehicles are increased from 10 to 30%, sometimes 100%, domestically and internationally. So this becomes our challenges, and we have to find new solutions to our clients. And also clients having changed their marketing and the events strategy too. I just give you an example at the auto show. Normally, around the auto show, there are lots of like a car launch program, celebrities, media, press launch, at least 10 of them. But this year, we only see one of such events going on at the auto show with large. So I have discussed with my corporate clients from automobile clients, and that they all reshape their budget. Of course, their budget has been, limited, and also they like to break their budget into smaller pieces so that they can cascade their client profile, accurately target their audience in like a top tier and the middle class, so they can create VIP events in a very niche and boutique way. So this is the trend.
Very interesting. So shorter lead-in times, sensitivity towards budget, increase in costs, and change your supplier partners. Very, very interesting. WeeMin, you're in the hotel side, and we've heard our two colleagues here speak about the requirement, flexibility, the change of experiences. What's your reaction to those comments?
Well, flexibility has always been key, even in the pre-COVID years. But I think during the COVID period, what it meant was it turned us as an industry into an age of mass customization. So the delegate that goes to Matthias conference no longer look for a cookie cutter approach. They already started to have that type of behavior in the pre-COVID years. In the COVID years, when they're all alone in their home with the screen of their own, interacting with the content, it brought the age of mass customization, MASS, full customization, to a whole new level. So delegate from a client like Matthias, when they come to the convention center or to a hotel or to a destination for experience, they want to receive content. And in the past, we said content is king. COVID came and showed us content is free because you can get it off a webinar. It's not just the content is important, but also about the engagement between the speakers, the panelists, and the delegates, between the delegates themselves. And we take a step back. In 2019, we talked about co-creation. Co-creation just became a much bigger word in this whole question for UX. What's the user experience, the UI, what's the user interface that the client and the delegate would face. So as a service provider, as a venue, it's not just about dealing with Matthias, it's also about making sure that his sponsors, his delegates, his right down to the person walking through the door to visit his sponsorship booths are happy and get what they want. So it's a question of content versus engagement as a venue and destination. It's a challenge for us to rise to this opportunity to see what new products could we have. Some of the new things that we faced that the clients talked about as events returned with a vengeance to Singapore last year and this year is sustainability. I know that we're going to talk about sustainability a lot more later, so I'm going to leave it to a side. Also about technology. Pre-COVID was all face-to-face. COVID was all virtual, so it's 100 to 0 or 0 to 100 world. And now as we return back to face-to-face events in Singapore, and around the world, people want to be able to meet face-to-face. So that demand for digital swung back to almost zero. In-person meetings is key. It's about how you drive engagement. But we do feel that at some point, the pendulum will swing back somewhere towards, is it 75-25? Is it 50-50? No one knows. But it's not just about face-to-face versus virtual. It's about the whole omnichannel future for the whole business industry. It's about being able to meet face-to-face for 3 to 5 days, and how virtual strategies like this webinar will be able to drive content to select communities within a big professional community to enable and to build knowledge engagement as well as community building within any professional field that we serve. So those are the key trends that we see here in Singapore.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. I love that phrase. Content was king, but now content is free. Customization, really, really important. I saw Matthias and Violet both and Elias all nodding. Give me some examples, if you would, of that customization, that something that you're doing that your clients want you to help them engage their delegates once they get them.
Yeah, now we recently announced the Bay strategy of Marina Bay Sands. So in the past, it's all about giving Matthias what he wants in terms of a day delegate package, one lunch, a famous one lunch, 2 coffee break, and maybe some welcome coffee tea. And we talk about innovation of that, maybe change the menu or so. Moving forward, it's not just about what they do within a conference period. We are working with all the partners around us to list, to categorize, and then to shape experiences. For example, the entire Marina Bay where we are located, we are home of more than 8,000 hotel rooms, home of countless of retail outlets, and home of countless bars, etc. So we now list, categorize, and reform experiences. For example, we have a gastronomic experience, how a foodie like myself, when we go to an event in Marina Bay, will be able to shape his own experiences. But the key of shaping is one of choice. But before you could go to choice, it's about one of knowing. So it's about being able to give that client that choice that he wants, and give the recommendation of key experiences, gastronomy, be it wellness, fitness, arts, performing arts, or simple something even as simple and fundamental to the industry as pubs, for example, drinking. What are the best beer pubs around in the area? So it's the ability to list all those areas, categorize the experiences, and then leave it to the delegate for them to make their own choices. Okay,
really, really, very interesting. So choice, really, really critical. And I suppose looking at the venue as a wider footprint of what opportunities are not only in the venue but immediately around it. Really, really interesting. Aloysius, you heard that mention about the swing from that total virtual, where everybody was talking about virtual as being the future, to maybe hybrid, and then back to face-to-face is the only way to go. What are you seeing out there in that digital world?
Well, Patrick, we are all social creatures. We need to be face-to-face. We need to go to that famous pub that WeeMin will recommend and get our famous cocktail and also some gastronomic delights. I think that is not going to go away. It's who we are and what makes us so different. But what the crisis has taught us is that it has shone the spotlight on how digital can play a part in any business endeavor or business growth. And as the Chinese saying goes, the character for crisis is 危机, which is there's always an opportunity in crisis. In other words, let us not waste this good crisis. Technology has been brought to the forefront, and I think in line with what WeeMin mentioned in terms of omnichannel approach, we have to think of, I guess, different platforms. The platforms as being on a spectrum from face-to-face to digital. And where you want to land, or where the pendulum swings, really depends on who the customer is, whether it's an association, a corporate meeting, incentive travel, or even an exhibition organizer like myself. You have to have different strokes for different folks. No one tool fits all, no one size fits all. I think that I guess adheres to this whole notion of customization. So it's about being attentive and knowing what your customer needs are, knowing the operating environment we are in. And indeed, as Violet has also shared, one of the significant developments we have seen post-COVID is rising costs, let alone what Matthias has shared in terms of impediments to travel, longer waiting times for visa. And each economy, each country will go through its own challenge in order to come to a post-normal situation. How long that will be, we'll have to make do with the situation. So environment that's characterized by uncertainty, high costs, maybe interesting travel impediments coming our way, what then do you do? It means that you have to make use of both digital as well as face-to-face engagement experience. And I think the key thing is everybody wants to ensure that there is some great experience that they can live by. As we are now here in the Zoom experience, it's nothing fantastic. We will all wish to be in Macau, enjoying the Portuguese tart and many other food stuff. But I think it's how then do you facilitate such engagement online as well as on site. I think that whole notion of hybridization, some will frown upon it, but others, I think we have to embrace it. It is the way forward. And now with the rise of these new AI tools like ChatGPT and many others that we are certainly facing with, how do you then incorporate that into truly impactful curated programs, particularly in the area of conferences, also in terms of, say, business matching for exhibition? How do you ensure that you can make that link, that engagement truly profound? And I think these are things that there's no rule book, there's no sort of guidebook to go by, but we will have to really be innovative about it and use these sort of tools coming along our way. But one thing for sure is that I don't think so we can write off. We need to work out what should the new business model be that embraces both the face-to-face, which we're very familiar with, and the digital part. So to make content king and not content free, your context is your kingdom. And so therefore it's important to look at what is the environment you're playing in, the event that the industry or community that the event serves. These are the ones that's going to dictate how you're going to engage your customers, whether they are buyers, sellers, attendees, sponsors, delegates. Everyone has a different persona. Know the customers really, really well, and more importantly, delight them to the experiences that are both on-site and online.
Excellent. No, I'm trying to take in all of this information. So much flowing from you, Aloysius. So let me ask you just one question. In the COVID period, we got used to maybe the misconception that hybrid or virtual was actually free, or it certainly was inexpensive. We're now in an environment where there's a sensitivity, a real sensitivity, and a real reality of increased costs. And you mentioned ChatGPT as well. Have you any examples you've seen of how, you know, venues and planners have been educated or using in an interesting way these new tools to not only make the costs reduce, but also to make that engagement, which everybody is talking about, much more relevant?
Right. I think the whole hybrid model is going to be a journey, and it starts with certain baby steps. And I think what you will see, whether you're conference organizers or exhibition organizers or a meeting planner to a certain extent, is bundle arrangements. Right? One price, you can access both in terms of you can participate on site as well as the option of doing so online. I think that is going to be, I would say, a baseline approach, whereby you're putting power in the hands of the delegate. When he or she wants to consume content, it's up to him or her. I think that's something that needs to be, I would say, de rigueur in terms of any event. Now, how do you price that? That will vary because it will be a function of the industry that the event serves. So you would expect perhaps those in the finance industry to perhaps maybe have a little bit more tolerance with regard to the pricing model compared to, say, those in, say, packaging or some others. I'm just giving as an illustration, but the end of the day, it's understanding the customers and knowing what those needs are, and therefore see what sort of price points would, I would say, correlate with the industry. But it doesn't deviate from the fact that there must be a value proposition. Whatever you price, the returns and the expectations need to be there. So one cannot avoid doing your background work, your due diligence. So if you expect just to do an event and hope and pray people will turn up, I think you are going to be in for a rude shock. You need to be very targeted. You need to be clear, who are you serving? What are your customers serving? What's some of the themes and the content they're looking for? Curate it well, and also using the omnichannel approach to really reach out to bring them on board. And I guess that's where, when you look at pricing, the pricing must include well, depending on which industry, as I said, the event serves, a mix of both the online and on-site experiences.
Okay. We've barely even got started, and I can see more questions arising than we've got answered, but you've really stimulated us. I'm going to move very quickly on to our next section, but can I ask my colleagues to launch a quick poll to our delegates who are attending a webinar and ask them to pick their top 3 trends that they think are relevant to them in Macau. And that'll help us in our planning for the future, but also if we've got time, we'll go back in and discuss those. So if you could pick your top 5 trends, that would be really, really good. So I'm going to move on to the next subject, and of course, where time is of the essence. So I'm going to ask you to make your answers very, very tight. It's a really important thing. I keep hearing, when I hear the word sustainability, go green or go home. It's critical. It comes up in every survey, every panel. I suppose, WeeMin, I'm going to start with you and say, have we got ourselves into a bit of a ghetto, a cul-de-sac, when we talk about sustainability in terms of the framing of it? Because it's seen, purely in the reduced waste, the green environment, and not seen in the wider context maybe of the sustainability in relation to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, or in the larger context. What's your experience? Your company have been a leader in this area. You were talking about sustainability when most of us didn't even know how to spell the word.
Well, sustainability is a new digital. That's definite. I think in fact, again, similar to engagement and the growth of UX, sustainability as a trend has already been building in the pre-COVID period. That comes from the corporate companies' inherent desire to be able to do business in a more responsible way towards the entire environment and the world that we live in general, to appeal to the new marketplace, to appeal to the younger audience that they're targeting. Well, sustainability as a whole is a big word. It can be broken up into a lot of areas. I don't agree that we're boxing ourselves into a problem. I think a lot of it comes from the lack of understanding of what the whole gamut of sustainability means, and how different things that we do as an industry, different things that we do as companies and as individuals work together. In fact, I spoke to Ben from Informa. He runs the entire sustainability gig globally for Informa, and collectively we agree that sustainability is not just a destination or venue or a client responsibility. It's a tri-party responsibility between the city that they're in, the venue that they use, the organizer that's planning the meeting, and of course the delegate that's coming for it, and how we could implement that tri-party relationship in everything that you do. That is probably the key to driving successful sustainability engagements throughout the community.
Okay, Matthias, inherently, business events are not sustainable. We bring people in, we bring them in from extended distances. Are clients willing to pay for sustainability, or is this just a topic that we're all talking about and no one's willing to get involved in the context that WeeMin has painted it?
Yes, I do think that, no, I see that there is definitely more willingness to pay extra. and be more sustainable. But I also feel it's not always necessary to necessarily pay extra. Some sustainable actions are actually not costing you money. Some are actually just changing the way you do business and the way you think about doing business. So it's not necessarily that everything green costs more money. It's a big misconception. And I mean, clients do understand that. I think there is a willingness to work with us. I do feel it's driven from a delegate side more than actually that the clients see it as necessary. It's kind of they actually feel a pressure from their membership, from the delegates to do something to answer to that. And there's a bit of proactivity there too, because proactiveness there too, because look at it. We're bringing, as I said, we're bringing people together from all around the globe, especially if we do international meetings. Our carbon footprint is undeniable. But the question is, are we doing everything in our power to actually make the meeting as green as possible so we can actually answer to our delegates, to potential delegates that, hey, we're doing something, right? And the carbon footprint that we're leaving has maybe a purpose. The way I mean that, you look at the UN SDGs, right? And if you look at sustainability, sustainability is more than just carbon. Sustainability means leaving a better world or leaving a sustainable world behind for the next generation to still live in. So a lot of the things we do during our conferences kind of contribute to the long-term sustainability of our society. So keeping that in mind, we need to be able to do what we can, but also we need to keep meeting, right? So in order to do so, sustainability in terms of environmental is absolutely unquestionably necessary, and our clients understand that. There was probably a long roundabout way to answer this, but yeah.
No, it makes sense. So if we take that, Violet, that positioning, that reframing of sustainability in terms of impact and positive impact in local communities, have you any examples from your own programs of how you have put that positive impact, that engagement locally into relief?
Well, indeed, China is it's always cheaper to do custom-made wooden assets rather than using those structures like Matthias just mentioned, that could be recycled. It's much cost-effective just to do something new. It's a long way run in Chinese MICE industry. Here, but at site, we participate our global initiative of sustainability growth. We align our members to take initiative of green ways of transportation like electrical cars or coaches. It's not compulsory, but it's in part of our proposal, recommending hotels that are part of the green initiative, venues that claim to be sustainable and always include sustainable production and the decoration ideas, sustainable CSR activities in our incentive proposals, hoping to guide and educate our client from grassroots level. So that's all we do.
Lots of practice.
Yeah, but I know. People say China is very polluted. There's a lot of carbons. But indeed, in 2022, our team had at least organized nearly 30 conferences that theming in carbon neutralization and decarbonization. So we are resting no efforts toward a better future, blueprinted by the Glasgow Climate Pact and the Paris Agreement.
Okay, so it's very, very much central to your planning. Aloysius, you're former president of Socios, you have a very broad view, you're a great innovator. When you look at that whole sustainability topic, what destinations are you seeing that are really, I know Singapore is obviously a leader there. What are you seeing out there? Is it something that is central to success for a destination to have sustainability as part of their value proposition?
Sorry, I was on mute. I think the whole sustainability thrust is going to be a necessary cornerstone in any enterprise and economy. So that's going to be key. We've always seen that in stock exchange, in requirements, companies having their sustainability practices in there. I think the jury is still out as to what exactly sustainability means. It is such, as you rightly pointed out, it's such a big word and such a big undertaking. And therefore, it behooves every economy to think about what exactly should that rollout plan be. So Singapore has also begun on its journey. We're certainly not there. It will take some time. And I think it's no different from many other economies, and because we are a composite of companies, whether they are startups, small, medium, and large enterprises, and also different, I would say, capacities for undertaking sustainability practices. So we need to recognize that. The question is, what is the uplift that one needs to bring about? In order to do that, you need to have a framework. And to this end, that's where SASIOS, the National Association for the MICE Industry in Singapore, together with Singapore Tourism Board, we have actually launched the MICE Sustainability Roadmap. I think that's something that demonstrates our commitment as an industry in partnership with the government agencies to establish what could be the key thrusts in this sustainability approach. Clearly, it has to look at what does sustainability means. We are not going to reinvent the wheel. We want to learn from the best in class. We want to learn from the major efforts, whether it is done by under the UN SDG goals, or whether it is by UFI, which is the MICE Exhibition Industry Association efforts, on which they have worked together with UNWTO, as well as other global associations. And what we want to do is to pull together these best practices and solutions that we can think about. We also want to be, I would say, practical, and that's where we want to look at how do we deal with things like waste management. What exactly is the entire ecosystem that goes into ensuring that sustainability practices can truly be underway? Whether we are looking at it as, can we undertake the full suite of what perhaps UN SDG goals have articulated? It really depends on each economy. I think, but more importantly, we have to start somewhere. And I think from the MICE Sustainability Roadmap, what we want to do is to make sure that we establish a set of standards that will be internationally recognized. We want to make sure that there is certification for our various actors in our ecosystem, for purpose-built MICE venues like MBS, which certainly leads the pack when it comes to sustainability practices. We also want to look at how can we track waste and carbon emissions, and how do we achieve net zero emissions by 2050. I think that's the deadline we're going to give us. It may seem long, but as I said, we are made up of companies at different levels of, I would say, appreciation, innovation, and adoption of certain practices. I think we want to take I would say, a practical approach. This is going to be necessary, whether it's in Singapore, whether it's in Macau, or whether, for the matter, in other parts of Asia Pacific.
Okay, really, I think we've only tipped the top of the iceberg here, but I'm hearing the need for measurement, setting goals. It's great to hear, you know, all our industry associations, UFI, IAPCO, AIPC, are all, we need to have a unified framework, and I hear that coming across, and understand that, you know, this is not something that sustainability is not a preference to have, it is a must-have, and we need to lay down some real and tangible practical examples of implementation. Very, very good. Listen, time is moving on. I want to jump onto that last subject which kept coming up again, and that was staff retention. And in fact, staff acquisition. A very good hotelier friend of mine said to me recently, he said, you know, I have the client who's screaming at me for an event for a menu. He says, I haven't even got a chef to put in the kitchen, never mind come up with the menu. So, I mean, worldwide, we have a talent deficit, a scarcity. What's happening in our industry is no different. I want to get your insights as regards, you know, is the staff challenge? Is there enough staff? What new skills are being required in your companies? Violet, can I start with you? You know, how about staff and for your business? Is there enough of them? Are they staying with you? Are they moving for a little increase in salary?
Well, for our company, we luckily sustain the majority of our manpower. So we have like over 60 staff still in the company running events. But this is a general problem all across China and Macau and Hong Kong. We run short of service staff. China has never stopped infrastructure expansion, crazily even during the pandemic. New hotels, new convention centers, new airports, are put into operation for hosting forthcoming, international events. But we don't have like professional, experienced, bilingual service staff. So in many recent cases, we actually in our company we bring our team and train and bring extra manpower. We do have freelance manpower supplier to those new venues that are short of manpower. When we operate events there, the venue was designated by the client, so we don't have the option. Just last week, we just organized a AI space conference in Lingang Convention Center, which was newly opened 1 month ago. We brought in our SOPs and helped them shaping their venue operation plan and work together as a team to achieve the final success of the event. It was a hard work. I think the team hadn't have a rest for like 5 days. So on the other hand, on the acquisition part, with the increasing influence of MCN and the expansion, those social media and the expansion of our business scope, video and the visual production became more and more important. Our talent acquisition diversified from traditional MICE professionals to the talents with creative capabilities or video productions, or with architect backgrounds. And some are from, our clients' background, like, shipping industry, aviation industry. The talent, we want to deep dive into the content that we create as a conference part of our clients. So the talent could be young and inexperienced, but with most importantly is the learning habits.
Okay, very, very interesting. Aloysius, jumping across to you there, when you hear Violet talk about that change of profile of talent that's required in our industry, which is a very emphasis on creativity, on the digital skills. Is that something you're seeing as well?
I think certainly we need to have an enriched repertoire of skills. And I think in today's world, indeed, there's a talent crunch all over the world. And it's no different. Singapore is no different. I think we're always trying to scratch our heads, where would the next talent come from? But I think we have to be mindful as to how do you define talent. I think it's important to be very clear about the competencies and the skills, and also the expectation that either the current staff, employee, or new entrants to the workforce need to have that portfolio of skills with him or her. And certainly it goes beyond the hard skills into skills that Violet mentioned in terms of creativity, in terms of innovation, and also in terms of connecting unusual dots, if I can put it that way. But I guess we also have to be quite realistic. COVID has, again, kicked us in the butt by looking at, if you are not able to be adaptable and nimble and rethink the way that you work and look at your processes, you're going to be in for a rude shock, because there are other attractive industries. And some of our colleagues who had a very tough time during COVID have now left the industry. They're not going to come back. They've also had opportunities where, hey, I can actually get more bang for the buck for the time I spent in here. What's the growth opportunities for me? So I think it has to have a holistic approach towards, I would say, employee or talent development in general. That also includes thinking about what's the pipeline of new cohorts coming into the system, how do we engage schools, look at internship programs? And again, to this end, SASIOS and STB has also launched a MICE internship program. So the whole thinking about how do you ensure new entrants, mid-career switches, the attractiveness and the appeal of the industry continues to be up there. Because it's no longer a case that we are fighting with each other, we are also fighting against other industries. So I think that's something we have to look at it in that manner and be prepared for a truly uphill battle.
Very good, very good. WeeMin, how many staff members, team members do you have in your organization?
We have more than 10,000 team members here in
10,000. Oh my, that's a good cohort. And I'm just again looking at the time we're up against it. But you know, what are you doing to motivate those 10,000 to keep them as part of that wonderful organization that you have?
It's all about upskilling, the ability to upskill all of them. In the convention center that I work in, all the client team members go through SCPC, Sustainable Event Professional Certification course by EIC, and DES, the Digital Event Strategy course by PCMA. The whole idea is to arm all the team members with enough knowledge, confidence, and information to engage our clients and themselves and their stakeholders in the conversations of the future. So it's not just, so I do see the sustainability and the technology and the talent piece all linked into one. It's about upskilling and professional development. And one more thing, anything that's repetitive constantly, if it's not automated, it will be in the next 5 years. So we need to be ahead of the curve on that. Yeah. Very good.
I love that succinctness. Matthias, you've offices in multiple jurisdictions, different culturals. What's your experience in this whole acquisition and motivation area?
Oh God, very good question. Yes, I mean needs are quite different in different areas. I definitely do feel we see the biggest difference between our Asian team and our team, for example, North America. There is definitely more willingness for flexibility, I would say, in Asia, but than we have in North America. But at the end of the day, it comes down to lots of similar things that people want. People want to be seen. People want to be heard. People want to have a say in the company and where we're going. They want to really know the purpose. And no matter where you are, I actually feel that is one of the #1 things right now. I feel in our industry, one of the challenges is we cannot always compete with some other industries when it comes to salary or packages. I have a lot of friends in the IT industry, and talking to them and their recruiting, it's just a different ballgame. So what we really can compete with is in terms of purpose and meaning, and providing a work environment that is exciting and provides opportunities, and that is the same around the globe. I actually have to say.
Amazing, amazing. So, you know, we've come to the end of our time allocated, and we've barely touched some of those subjects. But I just want to thank you so sincerely for sharing your insights so readily. To my colleagues in backstage, do we have the results of the poll by any chance? Can we share those very quickly? And oh, look at this. New business models, 52%. The work-life balance, sustainability coming up very strongly. Staff shortages, as we've seen, very definitely what's concerned to a 52%. Hybrid virtual new technologies, really interesting. Certainly echo what you as the experts have identified. They're certainly resonating with our delegates here in Macau. I'll share that information with you all. Yes, time has come to an end. So on behalf of all of my own colleagues and the colleagues in IPIM, can I thank our speakers for their very generous and very stimulating. I think, unfortunately, you've left us with sometimes more questions. I think we'll have to have you back for more sessions, but really thank you so much. And I look forward to continuing our conversation. face-to-face in Macau at some stage, hopefully in the very near future, and certainly at the various trade shows and touch points around the world. So thank you very much. Thank you to our delegates for participating, and we'll see you all in the wonderful and very special environment of meeting and events around the world. Thank you so much. Goodbye now.
Thank you and goodbye.